Kris, thanks for having us here today. If you want to start out telling us about yourself, where you're from, and why Northern Ireland?
Yeah, well, Kris Charteris. I'm originally from the Central Hawke's Bay in New Zealand. For those of you that know New Zealand, the biggest city would be sort of Napier and Hastings, but I was born and bred in the middle of the mountains for the first few years of my life. So yeah, that's where I'm from.
And how did you end up in Portrush of all places?
Yeah, it's a strange one actually. It's a guy that's from here, from a wee town here, Garva, ended up working for us on my apple orchard back home, and great guy, and we got on like a house on fire, and so yeah, he ended up working for us for 2 years, and he left, and I had done another couple of years work in 2001. I decided that I was going to travel around Europe, and I just called in to see him. I was in Ireland and came up to Portrush, and I still had his address written down in my little address book and his phone number. So yeah, I got here and gave him a ring, and he couldn't believe it. Came around to the train station, picked me up, and yeah, threw me into his house and said, "There you go, see how you get on." So.
Are you still in contact with him today? Does he come into the bar and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we're still in contact. Not as much as it probably should be. Yeah, he's a family man and crazy into his mountain biking and stuff like that. So he kind of tends to stay away from the bar these days. So he does.
Smart man.
Yeah.
So what was it like coming here? What did you do in maybe those first few years? Did you go straight into the bar trade, or?
Yeah, well, when I first came over, I'd actually been working over in Essex, driving tractors and combining over there for the summer. So ended up here, sort of coming into September of 2001. Sorry. So it was starting to get colder. Wasn't sure what I was going to do, but met a couple of guys that were in construction. So yeah, just started labouring on building sites and doing that, and I'd done that there for a good few years before I got into the bar trade. So, yeah.
And what was the catalyst of getting into bars? How did that come about?
That came about due to the the recession that happened. The building work sort of dried up here locally in Portrush. There was still work out there, but unfortunately, you would go and do the work, but weren't getting paid for the work that you'd done. So. Things have got harder. My friend had a restaurant here in town. The floor was sitting empty above it, so he asked if I would like to go and join him and help him with his sort of Italian restaurant. And we extended that upstairs, and I sort of managed that for him before I moved down to my current location here 7 years ago.
So tell us about Kiwis. I mean, I'm aware that it's become somewhat of a local icon, if you will, in the pub scene. How did it come about? Yeah.
Well, originally it came about because I was sick of drinking beer that I didn't like. So my whole idea was we're going to open a bar. We're going to have cool beer, something completely different, a different vibe. Not your traditional Guinness bar that you would go into, not your traditional old style locals bar. I wanted something just a wee bit different, a bit of its own identity, and something that would grow over time, which this has. When we started, we had 4 pictures on the wall. We had 2 beer taps and 4 bottles of spirits hanging up on the optics. So it's definitely growing. Yeah.
And what is your clientele like? What are the popular drinks of choice? What's the general vibe around Kiwis?
Yeah, clientele. It's a complete mix from your local student right through to your retired police officer. It's a mix of everything. We have all the sports. So we have a massive rugby following. We have a massive football following. Liverpool especially. It's great, and drinks of choice. I think, unfortunately, here I can't do craft beer on draft as such, but we do support and stock the local beer from Portrush, the Lacada Brewery, and that is by far the most popular beer.
And Kiwis is in sort of a historic building, is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about the history of this place?
Yeah, we're in the old Portrush Theatre. It opened in 1938. It was originally called the Majestic Theatre. I think, if I remember correctly, the theatre at the time could hold 420 people, which is a crazy amount of people. At the moment, the way it's set up at the minute, we can fit 230 in there. It then changed into like a movie house, a proper cinema as such, and ran as a commercial cinema up until, if I'm remembering correctly, 2007, before the building was sold and was changed into a restaurant, bar, nightclub complex. And then I took over 7 years ago. So, yeah.
And tell us about the surfboard behind you, because it's standing out to me.
Yeah, this here is actually an old friend of mine. If he ever gets to see this, you need to get in touch with me. His name's Russell. He was a character around Portrush. He was an English guy from the south end of London. Mad surfer, great friend, but just up and disappeared one night. Went around all his friends the night before he left and gave his possessions to everyone. He gave the surfboard to actually another one of our friends who he said that needs to be on the wall here. So it's on the wall here. Yeah, waiting for him to come back.
Like we tribute to him?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and look forward to seeing him again sometime.
So maybe backtracking just a little bit, what was life like for you in New Zealand, and how has it changed? What do you think of Northern Ireland, and how does it compare to what life was like back in New Zealand?
Yeah, it's two different things completely. I don't think you can compare it. My life in New Zealand was awesome. I had an amazing job. I was growing apples. We were the biggest organic apple orchard in New Zealand at the time I left. I think we had 260 odd thousand apple trees. It was great. It was awesome. We had obviously the climate and the people and everything. But yeah, it was a very, very stressful job. So I took a year out from work and went traveling. And then just didn't go back. Maybe met a woman, and I'm not saying I got stuck here, because I definitely didn't get stuck here. But yeah, I fell in love with her, and Portrush is an awesome wee place. You know, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else in Northern Ireland, that's for sure. I definitely like it. I like the people, which I think the people here are very, very similar to people in New Zealand. Very warm, hospitable people.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, how do you feel about the local culture? Do you feel quite accepted in quite quickly, or?
Sometimes, yeah. It depends. Yeah, when we're not playing each other in rugby, yeah, absolutely. No, I do feel accepted here. Yes.
Yeah. The rivalry does run deep, doesn't it? Ireland's not been doing too bad against the All Blacks.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good. Yeah.
We'll move on to a subject. So, Kris, the name of this project is called Hereish. I want to ask a question. Do you feel like a local now, or how Hereish do you feel after being here for some time?
Well, I've been told that I'll never ever be a local, but I've been upgraded from a blow-in to a blocal, which I think is as far up the food chain as I'm going to get.